The Autumn Forest Story. 7 minutes. There was once someone who had forgotten what silence sounded like. Living in a world of constant noise, traffic, machinery, notifications, conversations that seemed to go nowhere, had created a persistent buzzing in the mind that made true rest feel impossible. Every day began with an alarm and ended with exhaustion, but the space in between felt like running on a treadmill that never stopped moving. One crisp autumn morning, this person decided to take a different path to work, one that led through a small forest preserve that most people drove past without noticing. The moment the concrete sidewalk gave way to a dirt trail covered in fallen leaves, something shifted. The city sounds began to fade, replaced by the gentle crunch of leaves underfoot and the distant sound of wind moving through branches heavy with the colors of fall. The forest was in the middle of its most magnificent transformation. Maple trees blazed red and gold, their leaves catching the morning sunlight like nature's own stained glass windows. Oak trees held onto their leaves with quiet dignity, their deep amber and bronze colors creating a canopy that filtered the light into warm, dancing patterns on the forest floor. Everywhere, leaves were falling in slow, graceful spirals, each one following its own perfect path to the ground. A narrow stream wound its way through the forest, so clear that every pebble on its bottom was visible. The water made the most peaceful sound imaginable, not the rush of a river, but the gentle murmur of water finding its way around rocks and fallen logs. With infinite patience, moss grew on the rocks near the water's edge, creating little cushions of the softest green, while ferns unfurled like nature's own meditation wheels in the dappled shade. Following the stream deeper into the forest led to a small clearing where an ancient tree stood at the center, its trunk so wide it would take several people holding hands to encircle it. The tree's roots spread out in all directions, creating natural seats and resting places, as if the tree had been waiting for decades for someone to come and sit in its peaceful presence. The ground around the tree was carpeted with fallen leaves in every shade of autumn: crimson, gold, rust, bronze, and deep purple. Sitting against the massive trunk felt like being embraced by something infinitely patient and wise. The bark was rough but warm, heated by patches of sunlight that filtered through the canopy above. From this position, it was possible to watch the entire forest breathing. Leaves rustling gently in the breeze, squirrels moving from branch to branch with purposeful grace, birds flitting between trees with songs that seemed to be conversations rather than mere noise. The air in the forest tasted different from city air, clean and sweet, with hints of decomposing leaves and the earthy richness of soil doing its ancient work of renewal. Each breath felt nourishing, as if the lungs were remembering their original purpose of drawing in not just oxygen, but peace itself. The persistent tension that had lived in the shoulders and neck for months began to dissolve, flowing down into the earth through the tree's supportive root. As time passed, though time moved differently here, more slowly and gently, the forest revealed its subtle activities. A deer stepped delicately through the trees on the far side of the clearing, pausing to drink from the stream before disappearing again, like a beautiful secret. Butterflies, late in the season but still graceful, danced among the last wildflowers that bloomed bravely, despite the cooling air. Even the insects seemed peaceful here, going about their work without the frantic energy that characterized so much of human activity. The sun climbed higher, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow that moved across the clearing, like nature's own meditation practice. Watching these patterns was hypnotic in the best way, not the mindless hypnosis of screens and distractions, but the deep restful focus that comes from observing something genuinely beautiful and ever-changing. Each shift in light brought new colors to life in the fallen leaves, new textures to the bark of surrounding trees, new depths to the green moss growing on nearby rocks. A gentle breeze stirred the branches overhead, causing a shower of golden leaves to drift down like natural confetti, celebrating the simple miracle of being present in this moment. Some leaves landed on outstretched arms, others on the ground nearby, each one perfect in its own way. Some still holding traces of green, others completely transformed into brilliant autumn colors, all of them part of the forest's endless cycle of growth, change, and renewal. The realization came quietly, like everything else in this peaceful place. This forest was not separate from life, but was life in its most essential form. The trees were not hurrying to grow faster. The stream was not rushing to reach its destination more quickly. The leaves were not anxious about falling. Everything was simply being what it was meant to be, in its own time, at its own pace, with its own natural rhythm. When it was finally time to leave this sanctuary and return to the demands of daily life, the forest gave one last gift: the understanding that this peace was not something that could only be found in remote, quiet places. This stillness, this sense of natural rhythm, this feeling of being supported by something larger and more patient than human worry, all of this lived within every person, available whenever they remembered to breathe deeply, move slowly, and trust in the wisdom of natural timing. Walking back toward the world of schedules and obligations, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot carried a new message: not the noise of disruption, but the gentle reminder that change can be beautiful, that letting go can be graceful, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply stand still and let yourself be part of the eternal, peaceful rhythm of life itself.